I don't usually talk about anime on my channel, but considering the fact that this anime actually cross-sections over with topics that I do normally talk about, I figure that, hey, let's do it. So, for those of you all who do not know, there was a little bit of a tizzy, or a little bit of a firestorm, going on that because of an anime called Goblin Slayer, and you can pretty much tell from the title that the anime is mostly going to be about, well, picking cotton. Okay, seriously though, it's about killing goblins. So, interesting thing about Goblin Slayer, I've known about Goblin Slayer for about a good year now. I read a little bit of the light novel, but I definitely have read the manga up to as far as it's been updated. So, yeah, I knew about Goblin Slayer for a while. The interesting thing about Goblin Slayer is, I say the interesting thing, there's a lot of interesting things about it. But the interesting thing that got people upset, mostly feminists and, you know, SJWs, the thing that got some people upset, not even just like social justice warriors, but upset, was a particular scene that happened in the very first episode of Goblin Slayer anime. I believe the second episode aired probably maybe 2 days ago when I uploaded this video, or maybe the day before, I don't know. But, yeah, the very first episode caused a lot of people got their fifis hurt by it. And I find it particularly interesting because not only did I know exactly what was going to happen, but even while watching the scene in question, which we'll get into, I thought it was really well done. And some people might think that's a little weird if you know what we're getting at, but don't worry, I will explain it. I will explain all. So basically what happened in Goblin Slayer, and the first episode of Goblin Slayer, what happened, if you don't want to watch it, or if you need a recount, a young priestess finds a group of adventurers who are like, we need a healer in order to complete our party, and it's pretty much like a standard RPG party. You have a warrior with a sword, you have a fighter monk girl, and then you have like a mage who's also a girl. Yeah, it's pretty much. And then you got the healer who ends up being a girl too. So pretty much your basic standard RPG role-playing party cast. They go into the tunnels to go kill some goblins. That's their first quest. And they get wrecked. They get curb stomped. So curb stomped, in fact, the fighter monk girl ends up getting gang raped by a bunch of goblins. The fighter, or the warrior, I guess, ends up literally getting butchered by goblins, and the mage ends up getting stabbed by a poison dagger, and she slowly dies. She's actually paralyzed, cannot move, and begs for death at the hands of our titular character, the Goblin Slayer. And that's all in like the first 10 minutes. That's the first 10 minutes of the episode. The rest of it is the Goblin Slayer doing, well, precisely what he is named for. Washing cars. No, I'm kidding. He's killing goblins, okay? So, what made people upset about the Goblin Slayer anime was this particular rape scene that happened that was a bit gratuitous, some would say. Now, the rape scene itself was actually not shown. Even in the manga, it wasn't shown. It was clearly defined that that is what happened to our young heroine. There's like, we're not splitting hairs about what happened to her, but like, you're not actually shown like the actual scene itself. But even still, a lot of people got upset with it. They don't like the fact that Goblin Slayer is an edgy show. They don't like the fact that rape was shown as a way to convey the villains of a show, ergo our goblins. And I actually thought that that was really, really interesting, because I read some different tweets. I watched, my buddy Scratchpoint made a video on it. A lot of really interesting tweets going on here, where a couple of people are talking about rape culture and how they're getting really sick and tired of rape culture. So allow me to make the most obvious of obvious points here. So obvious, in fact, that it kind of borders lines on like ridiculously stupid how some people can be. Like, I thought people could be dumb, but like, yeah, people are really dumb here. But like, here's the thing. If rape culture is defined by a society or culture which condones rape, and within the show of Goblin Slayer it is shown that rape is a gruesome act worthy of death, ergo the Goblin Slayer comes and kills every single goblin, including the children, well, I think it's safe to assume that the author himself does not think that rape is a good thing. Otherwise, I don't think he would have punished our antagonist with the cold embrace of death. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm just saying, come on, man. Like, what? Why is this still a thing? Like, I know we're in the year 2018, And I know, rape is still a buzzword. In fact, this video is going to get into a limited ad state, despite the fact that I am just, discussing the topic itself in a matter-of-fact way, rather than, like, actually showing any scenes or anything like that. But I mean, like, come on, here's the thing that's really interesting to me, right? Because there are some people, there was one tweet I saw where some person said, it's really funny to me how the author decided to show a young lady getting raped instead of showing a bunch of people getting butchered. Then I sat there for a second, rather befuddled, because literally a couple of seconds before we get the scene of the fighter monk getting raped, literally the warrior guy is literally getting dismembered by a group of goblins. So in other words, the very thing that you were asking to happen did happen. And it's interesting to me that somehow your brain was able to gloss over the fact that a young man was butchered to death gruesomely and the young lady was raped mercilessly. No, look, here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that rape is a fine thing. And it really sucks that I have to say this, because you would imagine that, like, people that like a modicum of, what do you say, common sense, or, I don't know, you think people that just kind of would, like, have like a fair shake of you would like automatically believe or understand that you don't think rape is a good thing. In fact, you can't think rape is a good thing if you're using it as a convention to show just how bad somebody is. But I really do think that it's kind of a bit much for people to elevate rape as the worst possible thing that could ever happen to you. Okay? Like, because I don't really think that it is. Don't get me, again, like, see how I have to qualify this? Like, it should be known that I don't think that rape is a good thing. Now I'm saying it, so now you know I don't think that. But what I am saying is that when you elevate it to a point of, like, mythos, well, that's not really a good word to use, but when you elevate it to a point where getting raped is worse than literally getting cut to pieces, I think we really need to dial back how we deal with this subject matter, because you have to realize, and here's what I think is really important, is you really got to realize here is that if you take the concept of rape to such a horrible mindset, you're really making it hard for people to recover from the rape when it happens to them. If they figure out that it's the worst possible thing, like worse than death itself, which death is the final. Like, if you don't believe that there's God, then death is it. It's over. There's no go past go collect $200. That's it. You're done when you die. If you think that rape is worse than death, then you're really making it hard for people to come to terms with the fact that they've been raped and deal with it and get better. And that's probably the most important thing, or probably the thing that worries me the most about this elevation of rape as the most gratuitous thing ever. Now, let me go ahead and jump back into talking about Goblin Slayer as an anime, because I actually really like Goblin Slayer, like, as a manga and as a light novel too. Mostly for its story beats. The thing about Goblin Slayer, here's the thing. If you don't want to watch Goblin Slayer because of that one rape scene in the show, be rest assured, my brethren, that's literally the only rape scene, and which wasn't even shown, but like more like clearly defined, or clearly implied. That's it. The rest of the manga is really just the Goblin Slayer finding very pragmatic ways to kill goblins. That's literally the vast majority of it. Excuse me. I mean, who would have thought that a manga called Goblin Slayer is just about killing goblins? But no, here's the thing. The thing that's really interesting, what I really like about it, because I'm really a big fan of Goblin Slayer as a principle. I mean, I like the show itself, but like, as a principle of having a dark, gritty fantasy is really good. I haven't watched Berserk mostly because, I mean, there's a lot to it, and I just didn't find the time. I probably will watch Berserk one of these days, but just, I appreciate Berserk's existence as a dark, gritty fantasy, because I'm also a really big fan of Isekai. And for those of you who don't know, Isekai is another world. Basically, it's when the main hero or heroes are transported from our world into like some mystical fantasy world. Sometimes there's like a lot of like video game-esque rules and like stats to it, almost like literally verbatim. But it's not always the case. But I'm a really big fan of that stuff, and that stuff is really like fun wish fulfillment to me. It's just kind of fun stuff, I don't really think too much about it. But like shows like Goblin Slayer, and I would imagine Berserk too, even though I haven't watched it, like as a story, is really grotesque, and it really challenges the way you look at fantasy. Because fantasy, I think, is beautiful in the fact that you can go anywhere and do anything, and that's great. But to merge fantasy with the harsher realities of the world, I think can create a really good story, because it kind of puts into question how you would go about these types of situations. Like, how would you deal with these types of situations, like, realistically? Because imagine you live in a world where you have these goblins, and you have, like, dragons, and you have, like, you know, ogres and everything, and you don't have any, like, powers or abilities. You're just some guy. Like, how do you exist in this world? And that's what Goblin Slayer is. But Goblin Slayer is actually a little more interesting, actually, as a story idea, because if you look at goblins in principle, as a lot of stories go, they're usually one-off kind of like minion characters, like one-off episode type characters that kind of run in. The main hero like has some hijinks with them, or he quickly dispatches the goblins. You never think about them again. But in Goblin Slayer, it really shows that they are quite the threat. One interesting thing about Goblin Slayer too, which really shows how much of a threat they are, which I think is a great story beat actually. This is a bit of a spoiler, so you've been warned. But one of the heroes, she was one of the greatest swordsmen, I think, in the country. Became a gold adventurer, which was one of the highest ranked adventurers you could be. Helped kill a demon lord, which I guess imagine an ultimate, you know, powerful wizard demon, I guess. I don't really know what a demon lord is in Goblin Slayer, but whatever. And even though this high-ranking adventurer is just so strong and powerful, even she ends up getting gang raped by a bunch of goblins, to a point where now she's terrified to even like hear the word of goblins mentioned, and like has night terrors. Like, the goblins are quite the threat, man. And what I really think was really cool about it is to have a story that kind of highlights or kind of shows like the background characters. And I think that's one of Goblin Slayer's like strengths, is to show like Goblin Slayer's not some big famous guy who's off trying to save the world. He just really fucking hates goblins, and he's just trying to wipe them all out. And that's what, I don't know. I really like it. And I think that anyone else would like it too, apart from just like the rape scene. Like the thing, what happens after that, for the rest of Goblin Slayer, is literally just him killing goblins. And you will see like post-rape victims. They're a thing in Goblin Slayer. But for the most part, it's him killing goblins. And it's like him kind of like talking to his party and like talking, just trying to, you know, just, that's it. Really, honestly, like, again, rape is used as a tool to really convey how evil, or like how evil something is. I don't really know why I would need to further explain that. Specifically because of the reaction it gets from it. Like, you people are, if anything, are proving exactly why rape is going to be continued to be used as a convention to show how evil a character is, because of this fires, like because of how uncomfortable it makes you feel. And some people don't like the idea. They might think that it's edgy or it's too much, but honestly I think it's hyper realistic, and I really enjoy it, because let's really consider this, man. Let's really think about this for a second. If we were in a fantasy world with these little gremlins, like, how do they survive? Like, how do they reproduce? Like, they reproduce exactly how you think they reproduce. Like, that's why they're in such a frenzy. That's why they're going around kidnapping a bunch of women. Yes, exactly what you're imagining goblins reproduce. That is how they reproduce. And so you're taking, like, you're put into a situation. This is why I really like stories, and this is why I think storytelling is such a great fucking thing, because it really kind of challenges your emotional state and makes you feel and care for things that aren't even real. Like, bearing in mind, like keep in mind, guys, like, this literally is a conversation about some fighter monk girl that doesn't even exist getting gang raped by goblins. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at the emotion it has invoked. And that's what was really great about storytelling, is look at the emotion it has invoked. Look at how you're able to care about something that doesn't even exist. And then rape as a convention is going to be kept being used because it is one of the easiest, because people love women so much and people want to protect women so much. It's always going to be used as a convention, one of the best conventions. It is probably the best convention to show how, like, malevolent a force is. It's just have them rape a woman or kidnap a woman, because our society is just hardwired. We're just, as men, are just hardwired and just built to want to protect women. It's a great story convention, honestly. I don't care what anyone says. I really, like, some people might think that that's a weird thing to say, but, like, look at the reaction that is gained. And this is like one scene. Like, again, like, the rest of Goblin Slayer is not watching women getting raped by goblins. It's literally him killing them. But literally one scene has got such an emotional reaction, and I think it's great. Honestly, I like these types of stories, and I think these stories should continue. If you're not a fan of, like, Goblin Slayer because it's one episode, literally just keep watching it. Honestly, because That's the only thing that ever happened. The rest, if you don't want to watch goblins getting killed, then obviously you shouldn't watch the show. But that was just one scene, and I think if anything, it really kind of shows you just like the threat these goblins really pose. Because even in the world of Goblin Slayer, the other heroes don't even think that much of goblins, and I think that's really the point, is to try to like convey and try to like compare and contrast just how serious of a threat they are. I think Goblin Slayer is a good show. I think it's a good read, and I think you guys should check out the manga and the anime as well. Honestly, when it comes to like rape and rape culture, like seriously, like if anything, Goblin Slayer really proves just how much of a rape culture we don't live in. One, because rape is used as a convention to convey how evil something is. Two, the evil creatures, the goblins, were then mercilessly killed. And three, look at how many people don't like rape, nigga, come on! So with that being said, man, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead and click the like button. And shoot, go and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.